Welcome back. Welcome back to the Kovacs Report. It's time to take a look at Captain America, the final part in the first arc of Our Secret Wars by Chip Zdarsky and Schiti on art. And I tell you what, boys, I really enjoyed this issue. I really, really did. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through it page by page, so there will be spoilers. Read the book first if you don't want to spoil, and I highly recommend you do. Like the video if you can, and please definitely hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out, and I really appreciate it. So we have this new reimagining of Captain America coming back after the Two Towers fell, as opposed to the 60s version. And so far, it's been quite interesting. We've got two Captain Americas. We've got David Coulton, who was the replacement for Cap when he vanished all those years ago in World War II. And he's been having a bit of a breakdown. And it's really, really interesting. So let's read the little previously on. It said, after being freed from the ice and rejoining the army, Steve was recruited to rescue diplomats held hostage in Latveria by Victor von Doom. While Steve confronted Doom at his fortress, Dave Coulton and the Howling Commandos went to liberate hostages held in the Latvian embassy. There they found the remaining survivors, a diplomat's husband and a child. Slate and Chill, some of the Howling Commandos, killed the husband and revealed their true mission: to silence the hostages and cover up the US government's involvement in Doom's rise to power. Dave killed Chill in retaliation to save the child. Tired of being on the wrong side, Dave now only has one directive left: to destroy everyone involved. And that's where we start. Well, that's where we left off. So we go back to a flashback, actually, where Dave Coulton is returning from some kind of tour and his mother's waiting for him. She can't believe he's there. It's actually quite emotional when you think about it. And he's home and he embraces his mother. And we jump back to present time. Okay, now Steve, he's got his earpiece on and Dave Coulton's been talking to him and he's losing it. He is losing it. He says, time to clean out the barracks and put a bullet in the despot, right? So he said, basically, I'm going to kill all of these soldiers, all these Latvian soldiers, and I'm coming for Doom. And like Steve's like, Coulton, what happened? What happened? And right, and something is really, really going wrong with him. And Steve needs to save him. Now, the soldiers, the Latvian soldiers, after the battle of Captain America and Doom, now Doom's vanished. Okay, they're sort of trying to take control of what's going on there. And they're pulling weapons on civilians. And Cat's like, no, you don't do that. The minute you start pulling guns on your own people, there's a problem. Okay, you need to go and figure out what's going on and find a better solution to murdering more of your own people. Now, the soldiers are conflicted. Some of them continue to sort of follow Doom. Others are realizing that maybe there's another path. Okay. Now, one of the resistance guys is still there, who was part of this infiltration team in the other issues. And Steve's saying, where's the barracks? I need you to take me there. Okay. I need to save the soldiers there. And he's like, why would I do that? These are our oppressors. I want them gone. And Steve explains to him, listen, if that's your only solution, if violence is your only solution, where does that leave you? Where does that leave the future? What's that going to bring? Because violence begets violence, right? And he's also saying, listen, this is, if we have American brutally murdering Latvian soldiers unprovoked, how's that going to look to the rest of the world? What example is that going to set? It's just going to build more and more death rather than the support you need to build for your people to create a better world. And he says, okay, listen, well, I can't join you, but what I will do is I'll tell you how to get there. And you're going to need a motorbike. And he says, you can ride a motorbike, question mark. A little gag there for Captain America fans who always like seeing on his motorbike. Now, back at the barracks, you can see the death and destruction that Dave Coulton's left in his path. This soldier here is vomiting. And they're saying, listen, I just heard from Nicolau. Captain America has attacked the barracks. He goes, thank God. He says, what do you mean? He says, it's just one man. Our brothers will surely destroy him. But before he can finish his sentence, one of the Howling Commandos who's survived just plugs him. And they go down and say, where were they? So he wants to know where these barracks are, because I thought these were the barracks. They're not the barracks. They're another location where Dave Coulton has been running amok. And we get this other flashback to Dave Coulton with his mother. We find out that after the Two Towers, his mother became a protester, talking about America getting involved in wars they shouldn't get involved in, and all those things that we are already fully aware of in the modern day. And he's saying that, he feels this pain just like she does. It's very different pain. He's worried for his sanity here. And he's thinking that maybe this is the pain. This pain I have is the only thing I got. Maybe that is me. He feels like he's changed. He's obviously got PTSD. It's not very good. She embraces him. as he sort of collapses in tears on the table. Don't know why I'm getting emotional here, because like I'm not an American soldier, but I actually felt the pain here. Zdarsky's done a really, really, really good job of getting those emotions across, and I guess this is true for a lot of, soldiers who saw combat in various places across the world in the name of America. So it's quite poignant. Now, I know a lot of people are complaining about this book also, as well as praising it, saying, America's being demonized again, or, a plethora of other things. But look, I'm looking at this as a Captain America story. Anyway, we get this cool as hell page of Cap flying through the snow on a motorbike, like we like seeing him, and he finds the child. And this was the one of the hostages he was supposed to save. Her father was brutally murdered, like in the other issue, and she's there. And she finds like Dave actually brought her there to keep her safe. And she's like, where did he go? Where did he go? Anyway, they have a little chit chat. He wants her sort of evac'd out of there, but unfortunately they can't get there in time. And Steve's going after Dave Coulton, and he finds him standing there, covered in blood, knife in hand, and bodies everywhere. He is just killing everyone. And it's really, really, really heavy scene. And the best boy says, he says, it's necessary, Cap. I wish it wasn't, but it is. We keep losing sight of what we're supposed to be about. Freedom. And Cap's like, David, this isn't the way. He says, isn't it? We're here. These soldiers are denying their people freedom. They use violence and the threat of it to keep them down. They made their choice. And Cap tries to explain, says, we're not at war. This is a rescue mission. He says, some of these men you just murdered were scared, lost people who wanted to defend their country, who signed up for a thing that became something else. We're in a sovereign nation. We can't make this call not in cold blood. And I think it's drawing parallels to the fact that, this is kind of what you were doing when you went into Afghanistan or all the other places that Americans have been in, So that it's kind of saying that you're the same. You think you're doing the right thing. You're following what your government says. You're believing this. These people are just like you, okay? Misguided, maybe, all right? But it's hard for him. He says, I can't. There's so much blood on my hands, Cap, cold and warm. That blood has to mean something, has to be for something, right? He thinks like all this, why are we doing this? Why? It's the burning question. Why? Why are we doing this? Why is the world like this? Why? And that is really, really heavy. That word why hangs in the air. One of the soldiers has survived, and old Dave thinks, right, you're next, throws his shield. Of course, Cap throws his shield, saving him. And then we get this brutal fight between the two of them, and we get some narration. We get Dave Coulton, who's left a letter to his mother. It says, Mum, I'm sorry. I don't think you were right, but I wasn't either. The world has gone mad, but I don't know what the cure is. All I know is that it turned me into a killer, with the idea that I murdered the right people, or enough of them, then others would have the kind of freedom you and I have. And it's quite sad. Then this Howling Commando girl turns up and she tries to shoot the Captain Americas, but it shows there's still good in Dave Coulton. He grabs the shield and he protects both of them and chucks a shield at her. We get this nice joke where he says, could never get that damn shield to come back to. And he falls to the ground. And we find out that basically he's in trouble. His heart's giving away because they could never perfect the super serum that was given to Steve. He's being pumped full of drugs. And I think it has a massive impact on the internals, especially the heart. I think he goes into cardiac arrest. And we get this scene of him here holding his head in his hands, and he is in trouble. And Cap's so confused. He's like, I don't know what this is. And then Dave gives him the big secret. He basically says that we partnered with Doom. We backed Doom. We backed Doom in his takeover of Latveria to overthrow the existing government. He said we helped him overthrow King Vladimir. He says basically they did it to get tech and weapons, right? And Cap's just like, what's going on? What world have I woken up into? This America that I love? I think we're the bad guy in this situation, even though Doom's terrible. Anyway, the narration continues as the doctors made me write all this to deal with what I've been through. But in the end, it isn't for them or for me. So I'm assuming that he didn't die. And from his hospital bed, he's written his mother this letter. So she comes home and she finds this letter. She goes, yes, but in the end, it isn't for them or for me. It's for you. I'm sorry, Mum. I can't be here. Not really. It hurts too much seeing you look at me, thinking you're seeing your son. Your son is dead. I'm a killer, and I still have to make that mean something. So it feels like he still wants to sort of make sense of the world, justify all the things that are going on and be a better man. Now we jump to a month later and we see more surgery being done on him, actually. General Ross is there, and Cap's being escorted with cuffs, actually, up to General Ross. And he's like, get this soldier out of those cuffs. What do you think you're doing? And he says, where have you been? And we find out that Cap actually just walked into the forest at the end of the Dave Colton story we saw here. He didn't come home. He basically deserted. Of course, that makes him a criminal and an AWOL guy. And he's saying, listen, I've had enough, General Ross. I want out. Here's my resignation. I'm leaving the army. Okay, this is not for me. So that I will do missions for you, but I get to choose them. Okay. And if you lie to me, I will come for you as well. Very much like Rambo. A very Rambo moment here. It's really good. And he denies the request. He's not letting Cap go. He's having none of it. No, this man belongs to us. He is property. Okay, he is military property. He belongs to the army in the United States of America. But a savior turns up in the form of Tony Stark. And I really like the way they've designed Tony's character. He looks like that sort of, rich, suave, bachelor, you know what I mean? Very, very confident. I like how Tony has been drawn and depicted here. And Tony says, well, listen, mate, it'll be really interesting. Why don't I retire from giving you all this tech and all this weaponry I give you? You know what I mean? Those missiles you sent the other day and this cardiac technology I've given you to save this soldier here. So if I retired, all that's going to vanish. So which of us would you prefer to retire? So, of course, General Ross is forced to allow Cap, Steve Rogers, to leave the army. And then, of course, he goes off to explain the Avengers, which he turned down in a previous issue because Cap said, no, he doesn't want to join the Avengers. He's a soldier. That's where he belongs, in the army. But now, as of learning all of this, he realizes that that's not the place for him. So, of course, in this reimagining, Tony and Steve are strangers. I'd say they don't know each other's identity, or rather, Steve doesn't know Tony's identity in this. So Iron Man greets him like in the old days at I guess this is the Avengers mansion. And he's saying, hey, Mr. Stark said you'd be by today. So he asked the best Avenger to show you around Common Soldier, to give him a little tour. Tells him to settle in. And Steve says, listen, I spoke to Tony. I agree with everything that that you guys are doing here. This is where I belong. I'm happy to be here. And Iron Man says, great, settle in, come and say hello. And I've left you a little present. And it's a little note that says, the world never forgets heroes. I'm glad you're here. And we've got a little action figure here of Bucky Barnes. Now, I'm not sure what that little signature is there. It looks like an R. It looks like a D. I'm not really sure who wrote. I think it's an R. Maybe it's for General Ross. I don't know. I'm not sure who wrote the letter there. I'm going to have to Google that because that initial isn't sparking any sort of idea of who wrote it. It's not Tony Stark, because that would be a T-R-S, right? Anyway, he looks at it and says, what we did meant something, Buck. The future is strange without you, but damn it, I'm here now, and I'm going to keep fighting so that it all means something. And we get this American flag and the sun shining behind it. And I really, really thought that was a great end to this arc. It's a lot of messaging in there, as in the sense of it's pointing out, how the world has been turning for many, many years. And I usually, like I say, I complain when something is overly political in the sense that it's just about the message rather than the story. But this fits here. The politics in this book fits because it's about Captain America. He is a soldier, the American government, the American military. So it really, really does fit. So it wasn't pushed out so far to one side either. It was basically here's how things are. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is a great first arc where it's a new version of Cap. We've got so much we can do with it now because, like I say, it's kind of rewriting everything that's come, before in the last, 60 years. So we get all these new adventures, all these new storylines, and all these different versions of what could be for Cap and the rest of the Avengers. So I'm really, really loving it. It's really, really good. The art was really nice. I love the character design. I love the fact that Iron Man's got the old suit with the pointy mask. It's one of my favorites. Iron Man is, like I say, one of my top 3 favorite characters of all time. The first run I ever completed of every issue, every miniseries, Tales of Spence, Iron Man, you name it, because I just absolutely love the character. So it's nice to see him in that classic costume. Do you know what? It is bringing back a little bit of nostalgia. A lot of these books right now are so far removed of what made them great. Like you read the Avengers now, you know, it doesn't feel like the Avengers, not the classic team. And it's the same with a lot of these Marvel books. They don't feel like they used to feel years and years ago. And this is sort of bringing it all back and making it about the things we love. You know, they're putting nostalgia in with the real world reimaginings. We've got Steve Rogers as Steve Rogers. We've got Tony looking badass, being that sort of, you know, man about town, rich billionaire. It's really, really good. Really, really good. I'm really thrilled. I like it even more than I did the first time I read it, actually. So there we go. Because I was getting worried with the last issue. I thought, oh, hold on. Are we tracking this out just a little bit? But it's all been tied up really, really well. I'm looking forward to the next arc, which has actually been radically changed. We were going to get an introduction of different captains from different countries. However, that is all changed now because the Shield is returning, and it's going to be based around Shield and everything else that expands out of that. So I'm guessing that has something maybe to do with the return of Brian Michael Bendis as well. I'm hoping he's got some kind of core Avengers book he's going to be writing as well, because I think with Zdarsky on Captain America, as good as it is, and Bendis back on an Avengers book, you know, that's kind of his prime Marvel work alongside Daredevil and Alias. I think we're in for a bit of a treat. Maybe Marvel is turning a corner for some of these books. Because the rest of them are pretty dire, let's be honest. But no, Captain America, super hit for me. Again, I'm not American, you know, so I haven't grown up with all the knowledge that most of you who watch these videos know. So I hope I don't step over any toes when I talk about American politics and the wars and what's just and unjust. I don't know. I'd love to know more. If I've got anything wrong, let me know in the comments. But all in all, this is a good story. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't wait for the next one. So there we go. Leave your comments in the thoughts, like the video if you can, and please do hit subscribe. I'd really, really appreciate it. But take care.